Welcome to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fans podcast. You idiots, I'm just laughing at these clowns just trying to make faces at me in the background. On this episode of the ET Stand podcast, we are going to work out why, stop it you idiots. We're going to try and work out what a dynasty is and if the Cronulla Sharks can ever build one of their own. We're just not content with one premier. These idiots in the background, I'm going to stop them from pulling faces at me. Let's just bring them in. That is Boldo's Tears. Chris Kelly, who would you move?
Where do we start? I'm glad Boldo didn't grow up in Egypt times because that's a terrible looking pyramid. It would have fallen over and collapsed by now. And given that he just Googled the squad and put Matt Ikuvalu in the bottom and he hasn't been there since half of last year, our pyramid would have fallen.
He's still on the page.
The pyramid would have fallen over. You would have been missing a foundation piece and it's fallen over.
Oh, Maloney is still intercept. Away goes James Maloney. They're kicking him home, the Sharks fans. Maloney is there. Healy. It's Healy has scored on his departure day. Mitch Healy gets a try. The crowd have gone absolutely bereft.
In amongst all of that, Lats had an awesome story about how awesome this Finau guy was, and then Boldo concludes it with like, yeah, Finucane, how good is he? And everyone's like,
I don't even know who Finau is. I just assumed that Finau was the same guy as Finucane. Is that a different person? I didn't know that. Who the hell's Finau?
Wow. This is how flawed the tears are. He doesn't even know half the team.
Boldo.
This is where the tears bit comes into it.
I'm listening to the car going, did my stream just like skip 30 seconds or something? Like, no, it was just Boldo just playing along. But anyway.
Peachy, great ball to Campbell. He's away.
Campbell to the 30-metre line. Now, Colin Best heading for the corner. Gets it back on the inside. Graham, they're over. Nick Graham has scored. 4 minutes into the game. Ennis away. Here they are. Pryor. Can he get it there? Yes, he can. Matt Pryor, an unlikely first try scorer for the Sharks.
Interesting enough that the North Bears are getting that desperate. They're talking about having a Pacific Bears team so they can sort of engulf those Pacific nations and sort of get that ball rolling where they think they can sort of, take on the Cook Islands and the Samoans and the Tongas and sort of make it their team. So PNG's the go for me.
I'm pretty convinced after that. All right, Franko, what do you got?
Mate, can I rebuttal that, or am I giving a different answer?
Go for it. Enough arguments on this podcast. Come on.
You're going to throw out cans and they're going to play out of cans.
Ever. That is the dumbest idea ever.
Townsend now calling the shots with Johnson off. They will go. Gallen, field goal. Paul Gallen field goal. That is amazing. That is ridiculous. Away. It's back to Smith. Smith gets it away to Cronk. Cronk's got Korobetti with it. Have they got a chance here? Korobetti's put down. The siren sounds. Cronulla have won it. Cronulla have won it. 14-12. You can turn the light out now.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated. More often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.
US elections, Christmas, cicadas, and cricket. Australia 3 for 234, chasing Sri Lanka's 257. But none of that matters. Footy and the Sharks are back, and so is the ET Stand. Whew. Let me just check, guys. Smith has just hit his ton, 101. What a legend. You don't need to go there. You don't need to watch that. Stick here. Stay with us. This is the place to be. We've just had a wonderful game. Footy is back. Cricket's done. We're finished with that. Welcome to the ET Stand, the Sharks Fans Podcast, where we let our talking do the football. We are in all the usual places: YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you guys want us. If we aren't there, let us know and we'll do our best to get there. While listening, don't forget to like and subscribe. Joining me on the panel tonight is, well, no one. I'm on my own. So I guess joining me is you, the listeners and the commenters. So thank you very much for joining me. Now, I was barred from our Tuesday night episode, which may have had something to do with our current contract negotiations. In terms of signing on, I've been approached by both Sam from Sharkcast and Dan from Fins Up showing interest. So we'll see what happens there. But given how bad the lads struggled without me, I'll be expecting the boys to do all they can to keep me. Tonight kicked off the pre-season challenge and our first trial, us versus the New Zealand Warriors, ending in a 12-all draw. Ultimately, this is something we should always remind ourselves. It's only a trial match, but still, it's always good to see a great game come back and get a glimpse of what we've been working on in the off-season and some of our fringe players. So I don't know about you guys, but I was certainly excited and happy to see it all back. We have a link going into the comments. If you want to jump in and have a bit of a chat with me, you are, as always, more than welcome. Popping that in there now. And we've got a pretty healthy group here coming on and watching us live. So that's pretty good. I imagine everyone else is a little bit tired of the cricket, maybe a little bit itching to see what our boys are like. No Adam Fanua-Blake, as we all know, but I still think it was a pretty good hit out, seeing some of the other guys that some of you might not have seen that much of, whether it be because they only play flag or New South Wales Cup. All right, let's have a quick hit at some of these comments here. SJD comes in and he says, it's a bit embarrassing for the Wars. Maybe. We'll have a bit of a chat on that, SJD. Cecil says, Tommy, first Sharks try for 2025. As for the rest, well, we didn't lose. No, we didn't. Jack O'Hare says, Kia ora, campers. Ex-Sharkies Metcalf and Healy looked good for the Wars future. I definitely agree. We will hit on that as well. And SJD says, to sign Franko with a PO, a podcast option. I like it. All right, so yeah, on your comment there earlier there, SJD, a bit embarrassing for the Wars. I know there was a bit of talk about how strong the Warriors lineup was, and there's definitely no doubt about that. It's pretty much their first grade team with all the extra reserves tacked on. But we had a pretty strong team as well. I know, we were clunky, and that's because our spine was pretty much broken up. No Trindle, no Brayley, no Hines. But ultimately, our 1 to 6 could technically have walked out in any first grade match and we wouldn't have been upset, right? Hiroti, sure, maybe wouldn't be first picked, but he's done a great job for us in the past, and he would do wonders and has done, that man of match game against South 2 years ago. So 1 to 6 we were great, and then if you go to the forwards, again, excusing Brayley, we're pretty good there as well, from 8 down to 13. So no, we weren't our best, and that's probably why we were clunky. but we did have some good heavy hitters in that team, and so I think that's sort of where we were looking strong in our defence, in our systems, as is the buzzword in that scenario. And I think that we sort of showed that we were there in terms of fitness and in terms of commitment. There was a lot of guys that we saw sort of run ragged, maybe do a few more minutes than they normally would just to sort of test their motor. And I think that they sort of stood up to it. We might have a chat about each of them a little bit more individually throughout the show, but ultimately as a whole, I think there was good signs there from some of the boys. I thought we looked fit as a whole. I thought the guys were committed. They had fast line speed, running off the ball. It was really good from us. I won't do a proper play-by-play, but we'll just go through some of the quick things that happened in terms of getting on the scoreboard. We got a little bit of a leg up at the front there. A few errors and some reset starts from the Warriors. So Hazleton doing what Hazleton does, scoring in the first 5 minutes. Basically one ball out, steps, swivels, and gets the ball down. Obviously a fan favourite, Hazleton. He showed why there, and in the ensuing minutes where he sort of put a lot of effort in, showed he's got a bit more in his motor, I think, in this scenario. One of those scenarios where he's playing for a contract, and certainly looks like he's ready to rip in and tear. Nickel Kolstad scoring just left of the post, 22 minutes in. A couple of good offloads from them, and I think Niwai Peru probably was over chasing there a little bit. Nothing special there. To Peaky, apologies all there for that one. 50 minutes in, picking it up on the edge and cutting back in to score near the posts. And then at 4.5 to go, Beryl stutters, turns around, puts a boot the ball with Huepi Peru through to score. 12 all. But you know what? If I put my Sharkies black, white, and blue goggles on, theoretical score, can we say the theoretical score was 24-6? We had our dropped ball in goal between Atkinson and Vela. Terrible mix up between them. I think Vela was probably keen to get a meat pie, but then saw Atkinson came on and was in two minds. Should he let the senior guy have the ball? And just one of those scenarios. Obviously, we can laugh that off because it's a trial match, but hopefully the boys get that out of their system. And then obviously the 12-point turnaround where Gabriel doesn't pass it to Stone Street, who was flying on his outside, probably definitely goes the length and scores, but in the end gets the ball knocked out of his hand in the tackle, and then the Warriors score in the ensuing set, basically being that 12-point turnaround. So I don't know, can I say that? Can I say 24-6? I reckon not too many people on this channel are going to argue with me when I say that. So it was a good hit out by us. I think we sort of showed, as I said, that urgency, and there was a lot of energy from the boys. Now, I guess the perennial dial-in member, Williams 2.0, was called in for something to come in and have a chat about. So let's let him in and unleash for the first trial match. Is it also a trial for a call-in, a trial for a comment? Here we go, Williams 2.0. G'day,
hello,
bud.
my friend. How are we? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, sweet. All good. How you been, all right?
Yeah, very well. Very well. The off-season's treated me well. Yourself?
Yeah, can't complain. Very happy with the way they look tonight. For the most part, anyway. They look fast, they look sharp, they look a lot fitter than they probably did a year ago. So yeah, people can say they're happy with the draw, or we'll be lucky to get a draw, but we weren't throwing any shapes at them. So it was more blow the cobwebs out. Let's have a look at it. We could say we probably should have won because I think Stone Street was untouched if they given the ball down that sideline, but. Other than that, mate, it was pretty easy. Easy little hit out, and no one got injured by the looks of it, so happy days.
Yeah, I'd be curious as to whether or not the Warriors were going hard, or if they were sort of playing a bit more cautious, trying not to get injured, even though unfortunately for them, they did suffer a few bumps and bruises. but they certainly seemed a bit slower than we did in terms of the engine room. In the spine, play the ball, things like that, they were a lot crisper, but that comes with the players that they had on the park, right? That wasn't anything to do with urgency or anything along those lines. But I thought our boys really sort of bent the line there at the start, and that was probably something I wasn't really expecting to see. I know that poor Hamlin Ueli got a bit of flack last season, but he really sort of looked like he wanted to try and be a leader in this match for the time that he was on the field. What was your opinion of Hamlin Ueli?
Yeah, I was sitting down there with a bloke you might know, David Balderman, and
that joker. What's he doing?
Absolute joker. He was late as well. He missed Tommy's try. But no, I think you could probably say the first 25 and the last 15, 10, we were the better team. I think you saw the young kids get a run with Riley Pollard got on and Taj Ford and the young blokes on the 20s. You could see that the connection they had. And I think they went the wrong way. They should have probably gone for the pop-up field goal. But I did say to Boldo at the end, and we had a bit of a disagreement about it. That play that they did at the end was on. The execution was terrible. It's as simple as that. But I think
Warriors were running up to stop the field goals. They were short.
It was definitely on because they were all on the outside of their own men. So you can it'll be a good experience for the young kids to get on and have a run. And even you have to admit on the other side, Jet Cleary looks like every bit of a Cleary done, even though I was giving him a bit of a hard time on the sidelines.
He's certainly going to have a lot of pressure on him, that poor kid.
Yeah, he had a lot of pressure coming from my bay tonight. Don't worry about that. No, you look at the first 15, 20, I thought Hazelton started very strong. Obviously he scored the try, but the way he was running hard at the line. Sifa was being Sifa. I thought the starting 15, 20 minutes was pretty good. And then we kind of took the foot off the gas, I suppose, and which led to their try. But yeah, it's a typical trial, mate. You can't take anything from a trial. Get the cobwebs out, get the boys having a run, and see what happens in a couple of weeks.
Yep. So Boulderman has come in and he says you can't train for scenarios like we had in the last 15 seconds, and the Sharks don't ice it again. What was Beryl thinking? So yeah, in their defence, well, you can train for scenarios like that. Maybe that was a typo for Boldo, but I think it was certainly a scenario of it was a trial match, right? The field goal was certainly an option, but I think that you got a bunch of young fringe players that want to show what they can do, maybe even get over the line and prove their wares. So it was on. It was certainly an attempt, and I don't fault them for trying it. It's a shame it didn't pull off, but it was certainly there for the taking. So that's,
and they'll learn from that. Like they're kids, they always, everyone says they like injection of youth. Like let them play how they want to play. It's a trial. It's not 2 points on the line. Who cares about $100,000 at the end of the day if we can go win the comp this year? Like they're going to learn from this.
That's the time to do it. And talking about $100,000, we're not a rich club. I would love to win the $100,000, but it's a different scenario to us like 2 seasons ago where we needed to get, 5 more offloads or 8 more offloads before winning $100,000. Just throw the ball around, lads. But there's a lot of games to happen, and with a 18-12 score line, we're probably not winning the 100K anyway. With I'm sure over the next couple of weeks there's going to be a few blowout scores of 56-0 or whatever.
Unless we beat Canberra 60-0 next week in Canberra, which isn't going to happen.
Exactly.
You got to understand, this year we're going to Vegas. That's why we don't have the big team. I don't know why the Warriors put out such a big starting front team. They struggled the first 20 minutes. There's no doubt about that. And you got a couple of injuries. I saw, I think it was Barnett come off with one of those boys come off with a sliced chin or whatever. One's coming off holding his arm.
Stitches. Yep.
Yeah, I think DWZ came off with holding his arm or something.
Yeah, his wrist is busted.
So imagine what the Sharks fans would be saying to Fitzy if Nico comes off with a bad knee injury, or AFB plays his old team and gets busted up. And I think
the difference there is 2.0 that we were in the finals. We've not had a lot of turnover in terms of player roster. The Warriors underperformed last year They've got a new lineup, pretty much different positions in the spine. They probably need that extra hit out to get their combinations going and to maybe hit the ground running. Webster might be feeling a bit of pressure as well, although I feel he shouldn't, but he probably does. And that's probably part of the reason behind why they ran out the squad they did. There was a lot of chop and change. Look, unlimited interchange. So even with their strong squad, it was, they weren't on the field the whole time anyway. So it was maybe a bit of camaraderie. No one's too big to play a preseason trial. And away they went. So yeah, but I think Lats is sort of right here in saying no team playing in Vegas is a chance to win the preseason cup. Yeah, we've got other things on our minds. So the Warriors, the Panthers, and Canberra. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks for us. Yeah, footy's back, but we've got a bit of a golden opportunity overseas coming up, and I think a lot of eyes are on that instead of the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, 100%. I think Penrith didn't even play a preseason game last year, or was full strength on, because they were playing the cup against Wigan or whoever it was, and then they went straight to Vegas from there. So it's kind of like they don't really care about preseason, and we shouldn't either. I mean, it's good to get a good bit of a hit out, and yeah, the 100K might help, but as long as everyone's fit and firing for round one, no one. And if we go on and win the comp, no one's going to care that we didn't win 100 grand in preseason. Like if we're top 4 again or thereabouts, and we go on to have a good series in finals, no one's going to care about 100 grand. As long as everyone's fit and firing, Nico needs as much rest as he can because he tends to get hurt within the first 12 weeks of a season anyway. Mm-hmm. So, and the boys that stood in, I thought Peru had a pretty decent game.
Which one?
Atkinson. Both of them. I thought Hoffa played pretty well, to be quite honest. He was a bit of a tackling machine.
Very well, I thought.
And he got the try at the end there. I thought Peru in the first 20 minutes controlled it really well. Then went a bit quiet in the middle, and then obviously Riley came on at the end, who looks like absolute steal for the next 3 years at least. I think this contract states is 3 years, and then he goes into the top 30. So that's a long-term option if we can keep him happy and healthy. And even Taj Ford looked pretty good when he came on.
Yeah, I'm on the record of preferring Taj to Pollard. I think he's got a bit of nip about him, and I think he's sort of one of those players that is just a bit of natural instinct. But Pollard's certainly got a boot on him. He can hoof that ball like nobody's business. So yeah, they're going to be.
He also put a little chip kick in the corner. I think it was his first kick. And it landed perfectly, and unfortunately, I think we knocked it back into their player, and they just regathered it. But it was the right length, the right height. I was like, hopefully Nico's been kicking with his kid, so he can put those little chip kicks on the blind side pretty well. So,
yeah, I certainly think they're going to be in and about the team over the next few years, and someone that will keep pressure on the first graders. I do think that. While he sort of started well, Peru was a little bit quiet, and I thought that these are the kind of opportunities. He's been in and around our systems now for several years. He knows a lot of the boys. He's been in the preseason challenge 3 years in a row now. He should really be trying to stamp his authority on the game a little bit. Not to say again that I don't think he played poorly. He didn't
take his opportunity.
Didn't live up to what he should be doing. I think he should have been showing a little bit more than what he did. Should have been trying to marshal the troops and push people around, and I didn't really see much of that. I would have liked to have seen maybe Atkinson off the field, knowing that he's not going to be with us next season, just to give Peru a chance to run the team with a younger half next to him, just so that he had that opportunity to sort of know that he was the shot caller. And unfortunately, we didn't really see that. They both sort of came off around the same time.
If you're a Dragons fan, if you saw Atkinson tonight, I thought he had a pretty average game. Are you happy you're paying 500 grand a season for him at this present time? Probably not.
It's a good question. It's a good question. Where I thought you were going with that question was, are you happy that he's coming into your team? The answer is yeah. I thought he did enough to show that he sort of is an improvement on what they've got. But for 500 grand, well, now the question changes a little bit. Yeah, question changes a little bit. So
I mean, what he did last year was phenomenal. Like in certain aspects, you know, no one will forget the Melbourne game, but for what he's for a starting half, who's probably not going to see unless Nico or Trindle get backs get hurt this year. If he's not playing regular first grade football, you're paying a kid that hasn't played football in over 12 months at a regular high level 500 grand a season. And I know that they're in a bit of a bind because they can't really attract anyone. Everyone that gets linked to them either comes to us or goes to the Dogs at the moment or whoever. They have to pay overs because of the situation they're in. But if you're like when he signed for the Dragons, I was kind of like, okay, good, because you got these young kids like Pollard and Taj coming through, who are only 19, 20 years old. And cool, you're what, 23, 24, and we're going to get them on the cheap for the next 5 years. So in 5 years' time, if Tricky decides to leave or Nico, something happens to Nico, he leaves, we've got that cover. So then these kids can build up, and we're not going to pay you 500 bucks to sit 500 grand to sit on the bench or in reserve grade and bide your time in case one of these boys gets hurt. It's just not how it is.
Yeah, and I think he can't begrudge him for taking the money. And if there's teams,
I told him when he ran out on the field tonight, I still love you. Like, you know, he had a big smile, but you know, until next year, he's still a Shark. So we got to get behind him whenever he hits the field. So
you get what you're offered, and I think, you know, he did have a great season last year, and if the Dragons are going to use him on the field more often than not, then maybe he is worth that, right? We maybe a little bit too soon to write him off in terms of value for money. Could be a buy of the year for all we know. However, in saying that, if I put my hat on, pointy little wizard's hat, and get out my crystal ball, I'm not so sure he makes the team most weeks.
If we go back to last year, we need a 4-forward bench.
We needed a 4-forward bench, and I think we've got a couple of versatile forwards that can help shift the team around if an injury occurs. And, you know, Huepa was good enough tonight as well, I think, to sort of show that he's maybe in the running to be that forward behind, say, Talakai if he was injured, or if there was another injury and Talakai goes to the starting team. Huepa comes on, he can fill in at lock. He showed tonight that he did a bit of dummy half. So, you know, I don't think there's a bad option there either. So even with an injury, I'm not so sure we're running to Atkinson to stick him on the bench.
Well, with how tough Hofer played tonight against a big pack, you had Fisher Harris, you had Barnett, and the like running at you, and he held his own the whole game. I didn't notice too many times where he could be a like for like swap with McGuinness if McGuinness gets injured. You wouldn't need to worry about your bench. Obviously, I think Fitzy likes to promote from the bench and do it that way. But he's the same size. He's got the same motor as Cam. Well, I don't know about the same quality, but we'll find that out in due time. But
he's also a fair bit younger than Cam. So
well, there you go. And he could be, you know, the other thing going back to his little brother is at the end of this year, then do you move him on and just promote Pollard or Taj to that new next in line number 7?
Yeah,
because they look better. Yes. They do. Even though I thought Peru had a pretty good game, like in general. I thought he kicked better than Atkinson. I think Atkinson's kicking was a bit off the boil a little bit. But Pollard and especially they work together because they play together so much. Pollard and Taj looked a lot better than both of them combined. So they then promote like O'Reilly Pollard, even though Pollard's on a development contract for the next 3 years. And I'm sure Taj wouldn't be far behind him. Is that the next in line to go and right? You'll get rid of Peru, get some extra coin back into the club, and then give these boys an upgrade or something.
It'd certainly be something I think the club would be considering, right? Because we also have a couple of good players in the halves below these two, right? So we do have a bit of a production line in the making, so that's really good for us.
And on the wing as well.
It means, sorry?
We got a few good wingers out there as well.
Well, we do, don't we?
So Sammy, you got Sammy, who should have had a try,
Yep.
and then you've got Christian Dixon coming on at the end
Yep.
there. I thought
Dixon was
he
good.
looks a bit sizey for his size. So it's I think we've got a lot of depth all over the park, to be honest. Now with especially at the front row, you got wingers, you got halfbacks coming through, centers. You got Hiroti, who I thought played pretty damn well tonight as well. Latz's favourite.
I always feel for Hiroti. He's sort of a bit of a bridesmaid, I think, in that people always forget about him, but he's certainly Mr. Fix-It. You know, saw him in the centres, saw him at fullback, saw him on the wing for a bit. So he was jumping around in all the different spots to fill in gaps. Same thing he does week in, week out. Sorry?
He's the backline version of Talakai.
Yeah. And he's reliable, right? And just to make a point of the professionalism of Hiroti, you could see he was getting a bit angry at some of the guys around him who were maybe running the wrong line or dropping the ball or whatnot. I know it was a trial, but he was passionate about it and wanted to get everything right.
Yeah, it's all about competition with these boys. They want to do it to the best of their ability, and some boys take it as a trial, and some boys take it as like an audition. So it depends on. You can see a couple of the young fellas. I think Hosking played pretty well. I can't remember who else impressed me. It was a back rower. Was it Lachlan Crouch? He looked a bit decent when he came on the field. Number 16. Yeah. He made a couple of good runs and obviously, I don't think many Sharks fans have heard of him before.
Yeah, Crouch wasn't bad. Hoskin wasn't bad. I thought that Fernley, while didn't make a lot of impact in terms of bending the line, he had a lot of involvements, a lot of touches, turned up wherever the ball was, which was really good. The one that surprised me, and this is to all of our listeners, fill me in, gang. Eli Clark from the Bulldogs. I have not found anything saying that we'd signed him, that he joined us. Played one NRL match last year for the Bulldogs, and now he's obviously in our system somewhere. So I don't know where that's come from. There's no.
Is it the same Eli Clark?
It is. So I don't know where that happened, or
Interesting.
Maybe
they had to make room for someone they've signed or something like that. They had to release a kid, and we snapped them up.
Or as Cannon has happened in the past with these trials, maybe he's a Newtown player, and we're giving him a bit of a run in the trial match.
Train and trial contract kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that was a bit of a surprise when the team list came out. Just having a look through, and I was like, "Who's that?" And yeah, sure enough, Vossi on the call tonight confirmed that he is that one from the Bulldogs. So that was an interesting call out. I wasn't expecting that, and doing a bit of a quick Google before going live tonight. Yeah, I could not find anything anywhere saying that he joined us. So I guess welcome to the club, Eli. Good luck, buddy. Hope you have a cracker. But
more the merrier for depth.
Yeah, exactly. I thought I mentioned at the top of the call about some of our guys getting extra minutes and extra meters in their legs. Billy Burns, I thought, was run to a standstill. He
always does. Every time he pulls on a jersey, it doesn't matter what club he's playing for. He's just a machine, isn't he? You can tell a couple of games last year that he chipped in for the first grade team, and he was close to best on deck. And then next week he was back in Newtown because we got the players back. So one of those guys.
He was in everything.
Yep.
And I feel that he must be a well-liked player in amongst the squad, because he's always seems to be in a lot of the promo shoots and having a laugh with everyone. So good to see him fitting in. One of those journeyman club players that you really need. And I thought that he showed tonight that he's certainly putting in for the club. Tapua also had a lot of minutes. He was doing a lot of minutes, and I thought they were quality minutes too. He was turning up in defence, hitting hard. They weren't minutes where he was sitting around maybe waiting for the ball every now and then. He was charging on. So I think that's sort of just him trying to, probably the coaches as well, trying to prove to themselves that he is a player that maybe doesn't need to be that impact 15-minute player. He can actually have a bit more presence on the field if needed. So that's pretty good to see, and to see them tested as well, especially against, as we were talking, I know it's only a trial match, but the New Zealand pack was certainly fully stacked. So that was good to see.
It's also like with Tuku, like you got a bloke in the coaching ranks who probably same height, maybe a little bit smaller, but Andrew Fafita, he's a lot bigger. He's a bigger guy. Tuku's more lean. If you're only pumping out 15 minutes, and Fafita in his prime was still a bit chunky, but rampaging, lean on him and ask what happens. You just got to have a crack and just run yourself to a standstill, because there's a few hits tonight, or a few touches tonight where he's bumping off people, and he looks great. Yeah. But we need that more than 15 minutes a game. 10 minutes first half and then 5 minutes in the second half. We need that for about, if you're going to be star in the 17, you need to be able to churn out at least 30 minimum. If there's an injury, you might need 45 out of you. So it's a big year for him. It's a big year. I thought Will Kennedy was pretty quiet. Maybe, I don't know. It's just a trial. I'm not going to bag him on just a trial.
I think in the scenario of Will Kennedy being quiet, it's probably, again, talking about our inexperienced spine, those combinations not really there, not really playing the same plays that we would be.
Well, we're not doing that
in a first grade match. So. Yeah, so there was a lot of one-up hit-ups, which is to be expected, getting that ball control. So Kennedy's efforts were I thought, on par with what you'd probably expect. I thought, if we're talking about quiet games, I thought Kafusi had a bit of a quiet game, not a lot of minutes, so that would be why. But really didn't show much except for a couple of big runs and no offloads that I can recall. So it was just a quiet one for him, just a little bit of a blow the cobwebs out, I think, and then sit down and rest yourself for the next week.
It's actually an interesting why they put him at 13. I know you want to give Ueli a few minutes, you want to give Tommy a few minutes, but I can actually see in a couple of years Kafusi playing 13. If he trims down a little bit and gets some more minutes under his belt. Depends on how you want the 13. If you want the 13 like a Cam or a Isaiah Yo type where he's a ball player, he's probably not that guy. But I was saying to Boldo tonight, like, if you want him like a Gow, just a truck that makes tackles, makes runs, he's probably not going to have the motor like Gow did, but he's in that mold where he can just get through the meters. I mean, it depends. As I said, Cam's re-signed for another year or two, hasn't he? So we don't need to worry about it just yet. But moving forward, it could be one of those positional changes you look at.
Yeah, I think he's developing well as a prop, though. So I'm not too sure about that. I also might be a little bit blinkered in the fact that I do see poor Talakai is getting nominated for all the different positions, but I do see Talakai as a great lock for us. He hits hard, runs hard, but has those soft hands. So if we need a ball playing lock, he can be that. But if we need him to be someone who carts the ball up and get meters, he can do that too. So to me, really, he's probably the 13 next in line. But I just think that's
the only issue with that is, for me, his gas tank empties quite quickly if he's doing too much work. If we start a game like, I remember it was the Tigers at Leichhardt, or was it the Titans at Sharp Park, where he started and because we had to do so much defense. No, it wasn't at Sharp Park, it was up at Coffs. We had to do so much defense that he was gassed. We don't have that impact that he needs, that he can give us. So if you can get a gas tank on him and work his ass off to get to the right playing weight for that position, then he'll be a great lock. But at the moment, I reckon the impact he'll bring off the bench this year, you bring Fanua Blake on, put him on, and you put maybe a Tuku or a Tommy on, or whoever's, maybe a Toby Rudolph this year coming off the bench because of the amount of forwards we got. I don't think we got any problem with depth this year. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. But yeah, you condition him, maybe get that motor running, and I think he'd make a great lock. But as it stands, as we said all last season, he is the cheat code, having him come off the bench and just destroy people. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Next thing you know, he's starting second row.
Correct. Well, he did play well tonight. He ran hard and he still showed those soft hands getting the ball out wide. So Talakai doing Talakai things. SQDN says trials are the perfect invitation for one of the new guys to step up and show why they should be in big games. And he's right. We sort of touched on that a little bit earlier. I think that we probably didn't give a lot of our young guys as many minutes as I was expecting.
No.
They really only came on drips and drabs in the last 15 minutes, with maybe the last seven or 8 minutes with them on the field. And I did want to see a bit more time with those guys, but you know, it is what it is. We'll let the coach do what he needs to do.
I agree with you in the fact that Atkinson leaving, you should have probably had Pollard or Taj on a little bit sooner, probably after 50 minutes, giving them a good half an hour. Because, you know, I think next week we're playing Canberra on the Friday night down there. You're going to give Nico a run. You're going to give Trindle a run, at least for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. You're going to give it the big boys a run. So their chance now is only, 15 minutes in 2 trial games. Not much of a blowout the cobwebs for the young kids. Obviously, they probably don't need it as much as Peru or whoever that's going to be playing New South Wales Cup, or that they need that extra level of game time. But yeah, I would have liked to see the young kids on a little bit earlier. They started dribbling and drabbing in the first half with Crouch and whatnot. But I think it was only 60 minutes onwards you saw the whole team change. And we actually looked half decent because we had the young kids on who've played together and know the system and know their own plays, and the Warriors wouldn't have seen too much about it. So yeah.
No, it was good. All right. What did you think of your favourite Stone Street?
Up and down. I thought he missed a couple of reads. I even said it to Boldo. A couple of people around me, a few friends were trying to give it to me. I said, "You will not speak ill of the GOAT." He was unlucky to not get that try. I thought, if you actually see it live, he was jogging next to was it Viala or
Gabriel? It was Gabriel.
He was jogging, and he was going to go over. It was easy as just give him the damn ball, and then he cuts in. And Stone Street's reaction said it all. He was not happy.
No.
But there's a couple of reads in the first half where I was like, mate, you're rushing in. Kind of like a la Ronaldo did last year, he was getting crucified for. But that also, you can put that down to the continuity. He doesn't know who's in the inside set. He probably hasn't played with him for a while, or might be on the. I don't know, who was it? Was it Hiroti that was on his side, or was it the other guy? Ero. Probably hasn't played together for a while. Don't know if he's going to go. Should I jam? Not the communication thing like that. But he had some good charges. He had some good runs. Good blowout the cobwebs. He'll probably get another run in the second half next week. I think Ronnie will be down there next week. So
I think he certainly will.
He didn't have a great game, but he should have at least had a try. I said one of the boys, he was a Warriors fan next to us, and I said, it's a try when Stone Street hasn't scored after 60 minutes. He laughed at it, but he'll get better. I think the whole team will get better. Obviously, it's only the first trial.
Yeah, for you at the game, you didn't hear the commentary, but Vossi certainly sung his praises, said he was an out-and-out first grader and would not be out of place if he was in the starting lineup for any team.
Well, it's interesting at the moment, isn't it, with Ronaldo? His contract hasn't been signed. Stone Street hasn't signed. And there were rumours the other day that he was getting, or the other week that he was getting shot to Brizzy. I wonder if that's
Ronaldo. Yep.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a push from Ronaldo's management to get the deal sorted quicker. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean they both seem to love the club. Ronaldo's been here quite a long time.
Yeah.
He certainly talks about how we've given him everything he's got as far as what the game can give him. But there has been a few whispers lately about needing to look after family and needing to do the right thing to look after 100%. Himself.
That's
there.
like Atkinson's movement, isn't it?
Yeah, and
you
would never begrudge him.
That's giving so much.
Yep, never begrudge him. But it's always an interesting scenario when you do have a what seems to be a pretty talented young kid coming up behind you. The fans maybe start to say a few things that whether they regret it or not, who knows? But there's certainly some fans that go, "Oh yeah, we're not paying him that much. We've got Stone Street." So it's all about cap balance.
I think the issue is as well. Like, I'd love to. I said it last year and I'll say it again. Not that I've got anything against Sione, but I'd prefer to have Katoa, Ronnie, and Stone Street as the wingers. They're taller, they're fitter, they're faster. Katoa's finishing is incredible. We all know it. But if you're going long term, I think Sioni's a couple of years older than Ronnie. For longevity, you'd probably want to move on Katoa and get Ronnie and Sammy on the wings.
I think
But
Ronnie gives us that X factor.
who do you prefer? You can ask each Sharks fan, who do you prefer? And they'll give you different answers every time. So that'd be my option. I'm not saying Sioni's a bad winger or a bad bloke or whatever. I love him, but it's kind of like you got depth. Now you're going to get this kid for cheaper than you're going to get this guy for, and he's just as good as a player by what we've seen so far. It's kind of like the halves in a couple of years. You can have Pollard and Taj looking at, and with Trindle and Nico looking over their shoulders. You're going to have the wingers. You got another kid, as I said, Christian Dixon. If he keeps going the way he's going for the last couple of years, he's going to be they're going to be looking over their shoulders at him. You got Ison Will Kennedy looking over his shoulder at Ison. It's not it's not the worst thing to have is a competition. And if you move people on, not like 20 years ago where we'd lose a good player and go, oh shit, who's coming through the ranks? We got all these kids coming off the ranks at the moment. Like, it's a good position to be in.
Yeah, very true. Speaking of kids coming through and players being lost, would you like to give an opinion on Metcalf and Healy?
I was gutted that we lost Sam Healy. I'm not so much Metcalf. I think he'll be injured by round 6. He just doesn't have that luck about him. But watching Healy a few times last year, you could tell he's a good little dummy half. I was gutted that we lost him. Would I prefer him over Brayley? God damn no. I love Brayley. Like, Brayley's going to be our hooker for the next 6 to 8 years.
I'm not entirely sure that's the question, though. Would you prefer him over Beryl?
Oh, maybe. But when's the last time Brayley was injured?
Yeah, true.
We rested him, I think, in round 20. Oh, he was suspended or something. He had a game off where Beryl made his debut off the bench. He was playing halfback, I think it was.
Exactly.
He was playing halfback, but he was still there. I don't remember a game where Brayley's been out injured. So, and if you're a young hooker sitting behind a kid that's played over 100 games, who's only 25, 26, I believe Brayley is, something around there, and you're thinking, I'm going to wait another 5 years for this kid. Nah, I've got to go do my own thing, and I don't mind it. Like I like Healy, but Brayley's been there, done it for the last 3 years, 4 years for us. So I'm happy with who we got.
Good to hear. Let's see what Brails has for us coming up.
And if something happens, Cam McGuinness is a pretty handy hooker.
Yep.
So it's not like if Brayley goes down, we're screwed.
Correct.
So it's
not as things, at least wasn't as concerning as it was a few years ago. That's for sure.
As I said, 20 years ago, we lose Greg Bird. We're like, oh no, what happened? What's going on? But now we've got all these guys because of the academy that they're doing and the work that they're doing behind the scenes. Got all these kids that are coming through the ranks and flag and all that, just chomping at the bit. So it's a really good spot for them to be in.
Very good. All right. Last one for you, William, since you're at the game. The crowd sounded pretty good on the TV, and I heard it was pretty good turnout, especially for a trial match. What was it like? Yeah,
pretty much they had the Family Hill closed, and I'd say probably 6.5. I'd go between 5,000 and 7,000 people there. It was a really good turnout. Not too many empty seats. You could see splattering of empty seats every now and there, but it was actually a really good turnout. Like, I live next door, and we were lining up. First time ever I had to do this was line up about 200 meters away, around near my place. I got out the front door, walked about 100 meters, and I had to line up. So it was a good turnout. Plenty of Warriors fans there. Plenty of Sharks fans there, and it was a really good turnout for a trial.
Yep, brilliant.
And I said they got a new screen at the back of the Family Hill. Apparently, we stole it off Penrith because their stadium's under renovations at the moment. But yeah, they had the whole Family Hill closed, but everywhere else you could see a lot of people. So I don't know what the official attendance was, but I'd say between probably 5,500 and 7,000.
Brilliant. Good to hear. Seems like Sharks fans are ravenous for the season ahead. We're expecting a good one, I think.
Yeah,
awesome.
Definitely a lot of possibilities.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for the dial in. I can't wait
to get the first one of the season, didn't I?
You did. Awesome. Well done, mate. Take care.
Thank you, mate. Good to see you.
Bye. Alrighty, let's hit up some of these comments here. Mazdad kicks in and he says, trials are to get the rust off, feel the hits and get ready for the season. Results aren't a worry. Absolutely correct. Rob's coming in on one of the earlier comments. He says, I don't think you should be transferring Franko. In fact, is there a get out clause in Boldo's contract? He's the one who needs transfer. Well, I think the general manager's having a bit of a look at that, Rob, to see what we can do there. And then Boldo, in typical Boldo fashion, proving why maybe he needs that transfer, is stirring the pot here, saying, isn't Talakai a centre? Where's Paul to keep me in check? For those unfamiliar, Paul was a bit of a regular commenter last season and was a little bit perturbed at the common narrative about Talakai being in a centre position over Iro. Nathan Hunt kicks in. He says, pretty good hit out against the full strength Waz and happy to take away a draw. Yeah, I think we're all, like we said, we are all pretty happy to do well. We all want to, no one wants to see a drubbing, but we'll try not to dwell on the results, right? Let's do this. We're slowly building. We've got some good players to come back in a couple of weeks' time, and then on to Vegas. Boldo kicks in again. The German sausage guys were in good form. Sausages were tasty, fast delivery, great temperature. Here we go again. Yeah, I'm a bit of a fan of the old Bratwurst van. I think that's my go-to spot. Couple of other little points here to touch on. I thought Fox Sports was pretty quick to get Walters back, Kevy Walters back into the commentary seat. Good friend of the commentary team there, so not a surprise. And you know what? He didn't do a bad job. I kind of remember that I did like him before he picked up that Broncos coaching role, so happy to see him back. Just quickly scrolling through the team to try and touch on some of the players that we didn't get to. Sione Katoa performed as well as Sione Katoa normally does. Did look to pick up a bit of a niggle there at some stage. Doesn't seem to be anything too serious, so nothing really to worry about there. Was taken off precautionary. Kale Iro, couple of big strong hit-ups, but a bit of a quiet game. I think that was maybe, again, as we were talking about earlier, part of the combinations there, or sort of being a bit disjointed. Daniel Atkinson, yeah, I thought he was running the show a little bit more than Peru. Certainly was showing that he's having a bit of fun around the team. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm reading into it, but wasn't taking the trial too seriously. Had a bit of a giggle there at that dropped ball over the trial line before he realised actually what happened. Jaden Beryl, didn't sound like I was throwing shade his way, but he was a bit of a workhorse tonight. He certainly was doing everything. Obviously set up that try with 5 to go, tackling everything, was pointing people in the right spots, pushing them where they needed to go. So was certainly probably our general there tonight. I think that, yeah, Lachlan Crouch and Blake Hosking were good. Certainly got a bit more of a go than some of the other fringe players, and didn't let anyone down. Vela, he had a bit of a sad night. I thought didn't really probably wouldn't be happy with his performance, but I do have raps on him. I think he's potential to be a pretty good player. We'll sort of see if he dusts himself off and gets another chance next week. Probably doesn't get another chance next week, but yeah, it's a bit of a shame that he had a bit of a rough night. Gabriel certainly showed his enthusiasm, but again, there's a couple of moments where he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but still certainly showed that he's got pace, he's got strength, and one that everyone is excited for in the future. Some of the other edgies, Dixon, I think our caller 2.0 mentioned him a few times, but he certainly looks like he's got a lot of energy, really hungry for the ball, really showed that he had effort there to show commitment to the club. I think that was pretty awesome. I'm a bit of a fan of Felix Fertilli. I think he's going to be a bit of a promising prospect. Didn't get much time. Same with McCulloch. He didn't really get much time either, which is a shame. Also another promising player coming through. That pretty much covers most of the players. If there's anyone you want to have a chat about, or anyone you sort of think it's worth mentioning that maybe we haven't, shoot it in the comments and we'll hit that up before we sort of call it a night. Scooter69 came through. He says, Braden Hamlin-Uele looked very fit. Hopefully a big season from him. Yeah, I think so. Probably good buddies with AFB. They're probably pushing each other through the preseason to make sure that they're fit and firing to go. They are definitely going to be a 1-2 punch that we will enjoy watching, assuming they are fit and healthy for the whole season. I do think that it is one of those things that, again, we should not be overly concerned about the result, but I thought the result was definitely in our favour. We did well. We performed. Maybe there was a few rusty moments, but overall, if you excuse some of the clunkiness because of disjointed combinations, I thought we did pretty well, and we should be pretty happy with what we saw. In about a fortnight's time, we go to Canberra. There'll be certainly a bit of a better squad there. We'll see all the probably close to what our round one team will be, at least for the first 20 minutes, before then some sort of shenanigans goes around in terms of swapping out players for other combinations and just to give some other people a bit of a chance. But that first 20 minutes should probably be what we look to expect to see in Vegas, which is very exciting. Can't wait to see that. I know that we've got a couple from the ET stand looking to head on over. They are certainly rubbing it in our faces a little bit, but I don't think I can complain, because if I got the opportunity, I'd probably be doing the same. Sorry, gang, but I would. With all that in mind, I think that is the debrief in a nutshell. We'll be back on Tuesday night to hear the thoughts from some of the other panel members and cover any fallout as we continue to prep for the season proper. Thanks very much for everyone for hanging with me. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button wherever that is. If you're interested and excited for that footy is back, let us know in the comments below. But ultimately, everyone have a great weekend, and up Cronulla.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.